everyone, I'm assuming you know whose turn it is, but in case you were sleeping, hi, I'm Thomas Archambault. Archambault. Who wrote the script? This is junk. Anyway, this is my Draw My Life. Roll the film. My life started normally. Yes, I was normal at some point. When I was born in the wonderful dump we call Bangor, Maine, to my parents, Tim and Michelle. The first thing that every child learns is basic motor skills. No, I don't remember learning how to walk, but obviously I learned at some point. This was the first time that there was a sign that I was learning. After I took my first steps, I made my first steps towards what would become a lifelong passion and learning experience: hockey. I learned to skate at about 3 or 4 years of age, so I learned to skate before I even went to school. The first step in learning anything is being introduced to the activity or idea. I was introduced to hockey by my grandfather and my father, who took me to the rink to learn how to skate. My grandfather was the physician for the UMaine hockey team in 1980, and my dad played goalie for Brewer High School, but I don't know when. So I guess you can say hockey was part of me when I was born. The next important part of learning to me is to research the idea, or in this case, an activity. I researched hockey by joining the Brewer Youth Hockey program. Another important part of my learning process, if not the most important, is how I learned to hate Brewer at the same time. Needless to say, I left Brewer Youth Hockey halfway through the season and started Bangor Youth Hockey, where I continued to play. Playing for Bangor Youth Hockey with my father as the coach was the first time I had really traveled outside of Maine. We traveled to places like Marlborough, Massachusetts, St. John, Canada, Niagara Falls, Canada, and Prince Edward Island, Canada. I liked the idea of getting to travel so far and explore the world around me through playing hockey. At this point, I was enjoying myself like I hadn't ever before. Hockey was the first thing I was good at. So far, I had learned to love hockey. I looked forward to every fall when hockey would start. My teams never actually won very many games, but I was having fun with it anyway. My hockey career, I was about 8 years old. I had started school, and of course I had learned a lot there, but so does everybody. I had run through the learning cycle outside of school for the first time. I was introduced to it. I got into doing it. I started to really enjoy what I was doing, which enabled me to talk to others about it and practice it for myself. And now, after my hockey career has pretty much come to an end, I can tell everybody about it. Hockey had taught me how to work with other people, how to be an athlete, and how to have a passion. It was time for me to discover other passions in my life. Just 3 years later, in the summer after 5th grade, after my older brother told me about it, my grandfather bought me a copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Yes, all the boys in the school played it, but I played it in an amount described by some as unhealthy. I fell in love with it, though. I was meeting new friends online, and I found something else I was passionate about. Not to mention, after about 2,000 hours of playing the game, I got pretty good at it. I had fallen in love with video games, one of the most misunderstood and frowned upon passions to ever exist. But I was like 10 years old, and I had no idea people hated it so much, so I kept playing it, and met more people and made friends that I still have to this day. Everybody kinda knows how the cycle goes. Every fall, a new Call of Duty would come out, and everybody would get it, and spend countless hours on it playing together. I looked forward to fall every year because of this. My life became a cycle of school, hockey, and video games. But what did I learn from these experiences? I learned how to have a passion for the second time. I developed a very much better than average hand-eye coordination ability, and the ability to think quickly. But if I'm being honest, what I was currently playing wasn't teaching me much other than these things. It wasn't until about 4 years later, when I was introduced to a new game called CSGO, that I really started to learn something. I was introduced to it by somebody I had met 4 years earlier. It was a new game, and I was really bad at it. But what I didn't know was what it would teach me and how it would affect my understanding of passion. I found myself playing it a few times, and it was on a different platform, so I found myself adapting to playing with a mouse and a keyboard rather well. I really started to enjoy playing CSGO, and like anything you enjoy doing, I kept playing. A lot. I had racked up my first 100 hours in the game in just 3 weeks, and I got my first rank. Granted, I was really bad at the game, but here's where it taught me the most. I found out that CSGO requires quick, crisp communication with your teammates, the ability to think extremely quickly, very fast and accurate reflexes, and the ability to stay calm and collected in any situation. Through playing the game so much, I realized that these things were needed to be successful in the game. Coming to this realization started to drive me to get better at the game, and I told Ryan Kaya about it, and together Ryan and I started looking for tips to improve in YouTube videos, on online forums, and from other friends who had been playing it for a while. You would be surprised how difficult it is to stick with playing a video game that you're terrible at, but imagine someone in high school that has never played baseball before, but he decides to play baseball, and he doesn't give up because he wants to be as good as his best teammates. That was the situation I was in. I just wanted to be as good as the best players. This is where the ability to stay cool and collect started to become ingrained in my head. It was incredibly frustrating when I couldn't make progress, and when I lost a game right before I was going to rank up. People would yell at me and ask me if I was stupid because of things I wasn't good at yet, or when I made a bad decision. These games became rage-inducing, and my teammates and I had no trouble getting into arguments and yelling at each other. But the more this happened, the more I learned that yelling at your teammates is not how you gain the cooperation. I had learned teamwork skills from a video game. Yes, this is possible. But this didn't stop me from playing. I kept playing, and through getting better at the game, I started to learn to be level-headed while playing the game, which allows for better decisions to be made. This skill is really important and translates to real life when you have to make an important decision in your life, and you need to make the right choice. However, I couldn't have figured out how much I had truly learned without help from somebody. I had just spent the summer playing CSGO, and junior year, I went into Mr. Hamilton's English 3 class. I thought it would be the typical run-through of a boring English class, but I was wrong. We were assigned our first essay. Why do you read was the question that we were given. I asked what needed to be included in the essay and was given the answer, whatever you want. This became true for every essay we had to write for the rest of the year. I started to like his class because he didn't put his students on rails. He taught me to make my own choices and to express my feelings about what I wanted to. He taught me to love my passion for CSGO by allowing me to write my essays about it and actually hold class discussions about it. He did all this while remaining more of a friend than a teacher. I like to think of my junior English class as the time when I matured mentally the most. Without it, I probably wouldn't even have bothered to mention a video game in my English project. The crazy part about it is that I'm still learning how to express my passion for CSGO in a way that is tangible by everyone. And you guys are helping me with it right now. I may have started playing CSGO, but I never stopped playing hockey. So fast forward to the 2015-2016 school year at the start of the hockey season. That's this year. I was considering not playing hockey, but was convinced to play just weeks before the season started. What I didn't know is that I would be extremely happy that I played because this year's season was the most productive and inspiring season of hockey I've ever played. I always worked kind of hard at practice, not 100%. But this season, with the thought of getting a lot of playing time, I showed up and worked about as hard as I had before. I thought I would coast through hockey like I had done for the first 3 years at Babs, and then I got my chance to play at Old Town. My skates touched the ice 4 times that game, during warm-ups, the 2 shifts I got, and in the handshake line. After my first 2 shifts, I got benched because I had been unfocused and not ready to play, and let in 2 goals that were blatantly my fault. Without saying anything, this made me angry and frustrated. Then it clicked. I showed up at practice the next day, and for once was ready to work. I recall at the banquet, Coach Stevenson said when presenting me with the Most Improved award, "This player started the year average." We went to Old Town, and he touched the ice twice. But the next day at practice, he showed up ready to work and started asking questions. By the end of the season, he was the go-to defenseman. Everybody wanted him on the ice at all times. That's the very short version of the story of my hockey season this year. Coach Stevenson taught me so much more about my passion for hockey. He taught me to stay focused on my task by asking me, "How many lights are in the ceiling?" when I was caught zoning out. I always stood confused with the question, wondering why he cared. It took me an entire year to find the right answer to this question. Who cares? It was amazing what he had taught me through a small, seemingly pointless gesture. He had taught me to focus and take in as much information as I possibly could, while I could. Coach Stevenson also taught me that working without stopping will make me successful. He preached that the people who are successful on his team are the ones with grit, the ones who don't stop no matter how hurt or how tired they are, and maybe even give more in these situations. At practice, he taught me to focus and then to want it. He made me want to be better and to really love the game, which ultimately leads to the never quit attitude. Through the endless push-up crawls across the ice, I learned to keep going no matter how much it hurts. It wasn't until I started reflecting on what I might have learned this year in hockey that I realized that through learning these things, I had learned and become the best I possibly could at one of my biggest passions. It was through passion and my love for certain things that I had learned to learn. With the assistance of coaches and teachers, for the first time I had done what I love. And doing what I love has become extremely important to me. Nobody can tell me what to do with my life but me. I had learned to do what I love, and doing what I love will help me to learn what I want to learn for the rest of my life. The other day in class, we were all asked, "What should the others take from your presentation if they took anything?" On my paper, I wrote, "Despite what all others say, do what you love to do. Do what you want to do. Don't let others control your life. Your life is yours, and you should spend your precious time on this earth doing something that will not leave your place empty, but will fill it with each piece that belongs, so that you'll be remembered and not just have your empty spot filled by someone who is not you, which makes them not worthy. Because you, and only you, can fill your life to make it the best it can possibly be."